Headed to Bellevue, Washington. One of those days, if you don't like the weather, just wait 15 minutes, it'll change. That's
springtime around here. Bellevue is just across the floating bridge. There's 2 floating bridges that separate Seattle from the east side.
And that's where we're going. Bellevue is kind of a to-do area, kind of richy-rich. Medina, for example, is a neighborhood in Bellevue where Bill Gates lives, all right?
Bellevue, or sometimes we call it Swellview. Let's see what Silver Platters in Bellevue has got. Bellevue. It should, yeah, Bellevue doesn't. So this is a video, you saw this last year from when we went to Bellevue's Silver Platters. There's another record store called Vortex, I guess, in Bellevue. They sell DVDs and other stuff. Haven't been there, I'll be honest. If there is any more, comment in the section below if you know of any other, especially independent record stores in Bellevue, because I don't think there is any more. So, Silver Platters, that's Silver Platters for you. This was the record that I picked up there in Bellevue at Silver Platters. And this is the only record I got there. And I love this artist. This is Frank Turner, Tape Deck Heart. 10th anniversary edition. I already put it, see, I put it in one of these and saved the hype stickers. But this is a great record. This part just slides out the top like this, and this is the original cover, Tape Deck Heart. One of those artists who will resonate with your soul if you're someone who's had a substance or self-destructive behavior that's taken more control of you than you feel you have of yourself. All right? Not just talking about addiction, but yeah, addiction. Okay. Frank Turner was in a punk band called Million Dead and had his own bouts with recovery. And this is the art that took place. Frank Turner.
We are currently sat on the roof of a building in West London. Yeah, West London, and it's very nice.
Blacking in and out in a strange flat in East London.
The first record I had that was mine was bought for me by my dad from the Art Price at Waterloo Station on his way home from work, and it was Iron Maiden's Killers, which not something my dad's particularly into, but I'd expressed an interest, and he was sort of attempting to be a good father, so he bought it for me, and both my parents still regard that as the moment when everything went wrong. In my adult life. So I was about 10 years old. I still love that record. Right. The whole business of how you organise your record collection is something that I've spent many, many long sleepless nights thinking about. And actually my brother-in-law and I have long arguments about this. So I alphabetise, right? Although, you know, where do you put various artists? That's a tough one. Splits are a tough one as well. Stuff like Mr. Bungle, right? He puts them under B, but it should be under M, because it's not an actual person called Mr. Bungle, it's the name of a band. Here's the thing, I'm such a sucker, we're talking about Iron Maiden again, and they did a thing a few years ago where they re-released their entire discography, but in such a way that if you buy them all and put them all, then all the spines print out a new picture of Eddie, so I bought them all. The first time I saw a Million Dead record in the store would have been, probably the first single that we did with Extra Mile was called Smiling at Strangers on Trains, and that was in shops, so I'm pretty sure I went and got that in the shop. Actually, I seem to remember that the other thing about it was that we'd signed pretty much every single one. So it was kind of a bit weird going to the shop and then seeing it, and it was, I'd sort of already held this thing in my hand and then gone into the distribution network and come out the other end. I think independent record stores are really important. I think they're increasingly important. There's so much music around, you know, and so you get a store like Banquet, for example, which is my favourite, and it's the level of attention to detail and the kind of how bespoke it is, that's what gives it value, you know. And there's many times that I've just gone to Banquet of an afternoon, a little bit of cash in my pocket with no idea what I'm planning on buying, you know, and I'll have a conversation with somebody there, they'll recommend something, I'll have a listen to something, whatever, and end up walking away with something that I wasn't expecting at all. I think one of the things that is good about record stores is the kind of physical meeting place aspect of it. You know, for me, like when I was a kid, part of the deal of going to a record store was that you could meet people who'd like the same music as you, and I didn't go to school and really like the same music as me. So you'd go down and there'd be somebody wearing a Descendants t-shirt, and it'd be like, oh my god, we need to hang out, you know, and you could make friends that way. And I've got a ton of friends who I met in Select-A-Disc, you know, or whatever, and it was important to me.
There's the original. Yes. Got more artwork there. This is
The thing is, I know Americans know who George Jones is, but English people generally don't. I'd not really heard of him, but I've sort of got into like alt country, you know, sort of Ryan Adams and that kind of thing, which is fine, and I love that kind of music, but it's sort of, I've always had an interest in discovering the real shit, you know, the OG country, if you can call it that. So, came across George Jones, I read his autobiography, it was completely fucking mental. I mean, I read The Dirt by Motley Crue and everybody thinks they're the most screwed up, like, rock and roll guys ever. They got nothing on George Jones, but he looks so nice, doesn't he?
They were looking, trying to book him, but my pappy kept on cooking.
Craziest part of his autobiography, I mean, there's many. There's the famous tractor mower story when Tammy Wynette hid the keys to every vehicle so he couldn't get any alcohol, and then he just drove his tractor mower 50 miles to the nearest bar. But it gets considerably kind of more fucked and less funny. He tried to quit drugs in the early 80s, and his drug dealer kidnapped his family because he was making so much money out of him that he was like, nope. And then when he gave him back, he bought out his management contract and took a life insurance policy out on him. So that guy did a lot of cocaine. Do you know what I mean? And then it's all like Nikki Sixx is like, yeah, we did a bunch of lines after the show. It's like, fucking whatever, dude. Not that one should like glamorize this stuff, because if you want to read something that's going to put you off doing drugs, his autobiography is a pretty good place to start because it's just fucking miserable by the end of it. He did clean up in the end before he died, which is great, so hooray. But he was out of his fucking mind. So I keep talking about books, I love music books. The music book section downstairs slightly blew my mind and I had to kind of back away slowly.
lyrics. Very nice. Frank Turner and the band.
We lost faith in the omens. We lost faith in the gods. We just ended up clutching at the empty rituals like gamblers clutching long odds. And I don't care what the weatherman is saying, because the last time that I saw him he was on his knees, he was praying. The preachers and the scientists could solve just the same. We wondered if they'd ever get dry again, but I don't want to spend all my life indoors, laying low, waiting on the next storm. I don't want to spend all my life inside. I want to step out, face the sunshine. So open the shutter, raise up the mast, rejoice, rebuild the summer's past. Cast up the crutches, cut up the cast, rejoice, rebuild the summer's past. Rejoice, rebuild the summer's past. I don't want to spend all my life indoors, laying low, waiting on the next storm. I don't want to spend all my life inside. I want to step out and face the sunshine. I'm not gonna live all my life indoors. Gonna step out and face the next storm.
I don't fit in the frame. There's that. Very cool. Artwork on here. And what does the wax look like? They're in a poly sleeve, which is very cool. A lot less static coming out of the sleeve. There's not a bunch of paper particles on it. Love this. Nice kind of brick red vinyl. The thing I really appreciate about Frank Turner and artists like him is that art, like really true heart-piercing art, is birthed out of suffering. It's birthed out of pain. And that song, that's not on this record, by the way, The Next Storm, reminds me of that. I was talking with a friend recently about this topic, of pain and art, and he is a creator, he's a writer, he writes books and makes a living off of his art. So going through a tough time, my friend, issues with his physical body. And he reminded me of this, right? This idea that suffering and art go hand in hand. Beethoven, he was telling me the story about Beethoven, and there was a scientist that, we could exhume Beethoven's body and clone him and then make this, right? This clone could be the 21st century's musical genius. The problem with that is life experience. Beethoven grew up in a house with a very strict, alcoholic, abusive father who forced him to play for hours on end every day. He didn't even want to come home from school. His dad was so abusive, drunk all the time. He was discovered by another man who actually brought him to Vienna, where the rumor is he actually auditioned for Mozart, and Mozart was like, wow, this young Beethoven is amazing. That's kind of up for, right? The history on that is a little gray, foggy. But could he pursue this opportunity? His mother got sick, and his mother died at a pretty young age. And then his father's alcoholism got worse. This is a tragic story. These things shaped his life and the way that this art poured out of his body, right? And people can do a few things with pain. Pain and suffering have a way of clipping our wings, Something horrible happens, and for a season, yeah, that makes sense. Again, that song, The Next Storm, it's what's the lyric? It's easy to talk about bliss spirit when you're holding the roof up and you're knee deep in it. Processing the pain and working it out of your body, getting it from here out onto the page, into the chords, right, onto the drum kit, onto the page, whatever it is that people do. That's really stepping out into the sunshine, right? I don't want to spend my whole life indoors, sitting around waiting for the next storm, waiting for the next shoe to drop, this anxiety that gets in the body, that it just sits inside of here, and art is getting it out here, right, out in the open. And so yeah, that conversation had me thinking about that song, really brought me to tears again, listening to that song and talking with my friend. Yeah, that's the record we got. This is one of the ones I would have got up early for, and I was glad to see it at Silver Platters in Bellevue. Here's another sample of Frank Turner live in concert. This song is on the record that I purchased, 4 Simple Words. This is towards the end of it, and an amazing song. Looks like the guy puts on an amazing show as well. Hey, like the video. If you enjoyed this video, it's right down there. You can show your appreciation. Just click that right there. If you're new, subscribe to the channel. Why not? And ladies and gentlemen, end this out with some more Frank Turner, shall we?
Somebody told me music with guitars was going out of fashion. I had to laugh. This shit wasn't fashionable when I fell in love. But the hits just move on.
dance at Lowlands Festival. Will you dance with me? I'm really bad at this. I'm quite shy. Let's give it a try. I wanna dance. I just want to dance. She's so beautiful, so graceful. Come on, give us another one of those. Give her a round of applause. I just want me some lust, and some love, and just a fucking smattering of that old-time romance. Thank you for the dance, darling. I'm like Cinderella.